and Jordan. Cynthia and Jordan. Cynthia and Jordan, they've been married for 25 years. They have a kid in the early 20s, a young man in the early 20s, and a girl in her late teens. And he fell in love with her in high school and was smitten by her. She was one of the popular cheerleaders in the school. He definitely didn't fall into that category. Um, and each time I bring these couples up, I try to give you a little bit of a different dynamic. I've worked so much with couples who have healed from infidelity that I could think of all kinds of different scenarios. But again, my common message is that the person who cheated has to take responsibility for that, and 100%, and needs to understand what made me do what I did. And both people need to learn how to develop a relationship where there's a much less chance, hopefully close to zero chance, I won't say zero, but close to zero chance that it happens again. So with Cynthia and Jordan, like I said, Jordan had fallen in love with her, but um, they came to see me because Cynthia had discovered that Jordan had an affair with one person, and discovered it. It had been going on for about 4 months. He had stopped it, but it was maybe 3 months later that she discovered this and the truth came out. She was heartbroken. She was always thought of herself as a loyal, dutiful person, and wife, good mom, and he is a firefighter who has worked through difficult times. He had quite a physical injury, and she was there for him in every way. And it was hard for him, but he has gotten through. He had been on work disability, but being paid okay, because that he had put all these years into his occupation as a firefighter. So again, as we were talking, he described how he had always, from the very beginning, felt like he had kind of got in over his head with her, that she was this pretty a woman who he didn't deserve. And that belief system was there. Now, when that came out in therapy, she said, I had never in a million years knew that. Never was she aware that he had thought that. And she said that I didn't think that I was better than you at all. And there is something that is very humble about her and unpretentious and just right there. And so this relationship had worked in many ways, but there was always this underlying belief that I wasn't good enough for her. I'm not good enough for her. And the problem with people not communicating, and this is my point of bringing up this particular case, when we don't communicate our fears, when we don't communicate our shadow sides, that sometimes it has a way of being communicated in unhealthy ways, in this case through an infidelity. He shared that he had thought about cheating many times, but he never acted on it. But this time he had. And she goes, what, I'm not attractive enough for you? What is it that makes me not enough for you? Because obviously that's a typical response, which is most of the time incorrect. That has nothing to do with her being attractive enough to the partner, typically. In this case, no exception. He goes, no, it's opposite. I'm so attracted to you. I've always been attracted to you. But on some level, I felt like an imposter, that I shouldn't be with you. Again, she was shocked by it. And so what does a man do when he doesn't think he should be with her? On an unconscious level, it's not an excuse, I'm just saying an underlying dynamic, he will make it happen where he is now undeserving. And, one could look at it as you are undeserving. And as a matter of fact, since she didn't tell anybody but her mother and a few other people, he felt more ashamed and he felt even more undeserving. But it was because of something he did. At least he had some control over it in some kind of interesting ways. Our minds create these scenarios, and we create these solutions unconsciously. So the treatment was about him recognizing this belief that wasn't true. It never was. It was just the way he set it up in his mind because he was a part of the popular group in high school. And it's amazing how this kind of dynamic followed them through, maybe almost 3 decades. where it was still there. It's amazing when we don't process things, how they could run us. If he had come in before he had that infidelity and he processed that, I don't think that infidelity ever would have happened. What was interesting is as we're able to help them share about it and listen, and he was able to listen to her without getting defensive finally, because he realized that her pain mattered, that she wasn't just this beautiful cheerleader. And even at her age, which isn't that old, but middle age, she was attractive. So he saw her more as someone that he needs to be good enough for. And he never realized how little he just looked at her for someone who just had wants and needs that he was very able to give. She also realized and learned that she adapted too much, that maybe in some ways, since he looked at her the way he looked at her, put her on a pedestal. When you're on a pedestal, you don't get your needs met, you get worshipped. And so she realized that she was kind of in a little blind spot herself, that she needed more from him. She did need more from him. And so he was able to see himself as that man who is enough as we work through those beliefs and process those old memories. And she was able to see that, I have more needs, and she asked more of him. And when you're a human being, you have needs. When you're on a pedestal, you don't have needs. I mean, what I'm saying? I mean, she was an object to him, someone who's this person who was too good for him. So as that dynamic shifted, things changed for them, and they actually had a far better relationship than they had before. I'm not saying infidelity is good, it's not, but that crisis did launch them into a new chapter in their relationship where they were able to connect more maturely, have a more satisfying relationship. She got more from him, and he was able to see him for who he really was, which is an adult male, her equal, and was able to give and receive love with her and from her and to her. That's my story. That's Cynthia. I tell you, I'm making these names up. So Cynthia and Jordan. And they are doing well with some follow-up. So this is Todd Creager, making the world safe for love.